And the reason I asked you to do this, we're also on KWEL.com, and you can find desertvision.net, and you can actually see our next guest on your computer by logging on to desertvision.net. And I think on Facebook too, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Isaiah Jackson joins us now, and Isaiah is running for district judge in Midland County. Isaiah, welcome in. Tell us about the district, first of all.
The 441st District Court, which is where I've thrown my hat into the ring, is one of the district courts that serves Midland County. I don't want to just list off of all the courts. I believe there's 5 of them here. 441st was created 8 years ago. Since then, Judge Rodney Satterwhite has served that judge very well, but he's not seeking re-election. So in this coming year, myself and a few other people are trying to fill the vacancy that he'll create in his retirement. It is a court of general jurisdiction, hearing all manner of cases. I would say it's primarily a criminal court docket, but as a court of general jurisdiction, there's cases in criminal law, civil law, in appropriate circumstances. It would hear cases from juvenile court. But district courts are courts of general jurisdiction, unless you're going to file something in federal court because it's between people from other states or other countries. Pretty much everything can be heard before a district court.
All right. And Isaiah Jackson on the radio with us here on KWEL AM 1070 and FM 107.1. Isaiah, let's start here too. You are running as a Republican in the Republican primary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to pick a party in order to run for a race. I am a very conservative person, both socially, spiritually, however you want to describe it. And between the two parties, the Republican Party much more closely matches my personal belief system. I believe in private charity. You want to do something for your neighbor, as you should, do it. You shouldn't have to, the government shouldn't take money out of your pocket and go spend it how they see fit. If there's a charity that is dear to your heart, get involved in that. I encourage people to do that. That's what you should do. It's our obligation as a good citizen. I don't want to get, well, this is a political thing, but I guess we're at the point now we would have to amend our Constitution to recognize marriage for what it is, the union between one man and one woman. The other party obviously doesn't believe that. I've read plenty of times in the Bible that God knew, He knows you from your womb, from the womb.
Sure.
If He can teach you from there, you're alive from the point where the egg and the sperm connect, and your life begins there. And abortion is murder. And maybe we'd have to amend our Constitution to get rid of that too. But the country's gone too far, way too far in some areas, and most of those digressions and transgressions I see coming from the Democratic Party.
Well, they really do, and the Bible clearly says, "Thou shalt not lie with a man as you would a woman." It doesn't get much more clear than that.
Exactly. Over here in legal, we call that black letter law.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, cut and dry. And as a judge, you're supposed to follow black letter law, to the greatest extent. You're supposed to follow it always. And when there's clear instruction, whether it be from the Bible or from a legal book, it makes your job easier. You would think, just do what the book says.
Well, I would think so. And He also created man and woman, too. He didn't make 3, He made 2 genders.
Exactly. Woman, I believe, came from man. We've heard the story. Whether it's, metaphor, put Adam to sleep, took his rib, whatever. There are 2 genders. I've even read somewhere where it was Washington State will allow people to amend their birth certificates to put an X in the gender. It doesn't make sense to me. Just that in general, I just can't see how a guy can look at another guy and get turned on by that. But that's my personal thing.
Well, I agree. You're a nice guy, but no offense, you're not going to turn me on. It's not going to happen. And I'm assuming you're probably feeling the same way toward me.
another thing, like, along that same vein, probably is something that, even, what do you want to call them, middle of the road people can agree to. There are some people that are genuinely attracted to children. That's something that I just don't understand. It's something that still is illegal, as it should be. But I think that's something that most reasonable adults can agree is some behavior that people will argue is part of who they are. But as a society, we cannot tolerate that.
913 on AM 1070 and FM 107.1. Isaiah Jackson is a candidate for the Republican Party for the primary election coming up for district judge. And Rodney Satterwright vacating that position. And you've decided to throw your hat in the ring, never having been a politician before.
Never run for anything. I can't say I've never run for anything. I was Student Bar Association president. But that's kind of like an interscholastic election. But I've never run for any public office now. But here I am, and I'm just gonna. Number one, thank you for having me here, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your audience with me, because this is my first time speaking to a broad audience ever. I've never been on radio. This is what I feel is in my heart to do, and I'm gonna.
It takes, I would think it would take a lot of, probably a lot of prayer and certainly a lot of soul searching, if you will, to decide to run for any kind of a position. Now, Judge, that's a big responsibility.
It is, but I've been hearing this all my life. You should be a judge, you should be a judge. It's funny, I don't know how many other kids hear that. But all through college, I mean, you can verify this. Professors in college, I don't know what qualities people think a judge ought to have. But I've been hearing for decades that I have those qualities, you should be a judge. But when it came time to actually making a decision, I had to talk to my wife. Because I do recognize this is a political office. I can't make decisions like this without consulting her. We have a family, and I need to make sure that, the things that I get myself involved in are what's best for my family. And, although I am the head of my family, I'm not, some dictator. I consulted with my wife, and she was excited. She's still, I would say, more excited, more active in my campaign than I am. But it's not a decision I take lightly. For example, since I've been an attorney, I've had the opportunity of speaking with, of course, judges, several of whom were approaching their retirement. I won't say Judge Satterwright in particular, but other judges. They've all wondered whether they've really made a difference. I found that hard to kind of process at first, because as a judge, you're making huge differences in a person's life every day. I don't know, maybe that's why they were seeking retirement. They have been burnt out from that process. But capital punishment is something I strongly believe in. But that's something that I wrestled with. As a judge, would I have the moxie, the guts, whatever you want to call it, to pronounce a sentence of death on somebody? But what I realized is I've gone through great lengths to equip and prepare myself to defend my family and our home with lethal force if necessary. As a judge, kind of extending that authority to society in general, we have laws in place, and it's ultimately the jury that makes that decision as to whether or not this offense, this person, has been proven to commit warrants such a punishment. So it's really not my decision. But since I'm willing to defend my family to the ultimate degree of necessary, I am able to say wholeheartedly that I'm not yet able. I say yes, because I do hope to be elected, but I would have no problem passing that ultimate sentence of judgment upon somebody else.
Yeah, there's, I would imagine a lot of things to consider: death penalty, capital punishment. When you get rapists in court, child molesters, all that kind of thing. And there's a lot of that going around. There's a lot of that going around right here in our conservative community.
There really is. I'm not a legislature. I'm not in the legislature, and I'm not here to make laws. That's one thing I can kind of stump myself on. I'm not trying to be one of these judicial activists that just kind of issue rulings as they see fit. But I would, just to be honest, I would I think there's certain cases where capital punishment should be extended. If you got a person raping children, I don't want to. I have my personal views on that, but I think there are certain situations where murder is not the only place where capital punishment is appropriate. But as a judge who will be obligated to follow the law, of course, I couldn't just send somebody.
Of course.
Can't do that.
918. So you're not going to be an activist judge, boy. It's so tired of activist judges out
there. Yeah. That's just something I totally disagree with. Judicial activism as a policy is inappropriate. We do have three branches of government. The appropriate branch of government to make laws is the legislature. People elect people to represent them in that regard, to make laws. As a judicial branch, we have the Supreme Court that says whether or not these things are constitutional. But as a district judge, it's really not your function to create law. Yours is, I hate to say administer, but the law is there. You hear arguments from both sides, and unless they're able to settle it out, either the jury who's sitting in the place of a judge or the court itself has to render a decision based on law as it is written. And there's a whole discussion on that about enforcing and enacting laws as they're written.
Isaiah, and with us on the radio, Isaiah Jackson, candidate for district judge 444th?
441st.
41st, okay. And anyway, will you be out there? Will we see a lot on the campaign trail?
Yes. This weekend, there are two events scheduled. One is by I don't want to misquote it, but I'm going to do my best. It's the Negro Professional Business Women Association. I hope I didn't misquote it. But they're having an event at the Senior Center on Washington Park tomorrow. And then there's another event on Monday at the Martin Luther King Center over on Scarborough Avenue. This will be my first time kind of making the sacrifice to do some campaigning because Texas Hawking Association is having a big meet right up the road in Abilene, and I really had planned to go to that and see all the people with their birds in action. But I've got a campaign, so here I'll be at those two events this weekend.
What about a webpage? You active on webpage, Facebook?
We're on Facebook. What is it? Vote Jackson for Judge. My name is Isaiah Jackson. There's, it's connected to my personal Facebook page. I'm there. It's probably a good way to get to know me. My wife posts everything, and I post a lot of stuff on Facebook. And if you want to just see who I am, I invite you. Browse through my Facebook page. You'll see what's important to me.
Well, I would say this to our audience. I met Isaiah earlier in the week and everything, and visiting with you and your wife. Good folks.
Thank you very much.
We'll bring in a call. Go ahead and put those headphones on, and you'll be able to hear the caller. And you're on the air on KWEL AM and FM with Isaiah Jackson. Good morning. Hi, you're on the air. Go ahead. Good morning. Well, I guess they're not there. 921 on KWEL AM 1070 and FM 107.1. If you would like to visit with us this morning, of course, you can do that, 620-8700. One thing Midland has, and probably other cities all have the same problem, but that's getting people to show up for jury duty.
Yes.
What do we do to correct that?
Spread the word that is extremely important, extremely vital. From the lines at the courthouse Monday morning, I don't know if that's a problem here in Midland. As an attorney, I only see the jury after it's been kind of sent up to the courthouse. So we always have 50, 60 people it takes to pick a jury. I don't know if there is a shortage here in Midland because the people here seem to be very cognizant of the responsibility you have as a citizen to take part in the judicial system. There's a line out the door every morning when people are reporting for jury duty. But to those of you who put those cards in the trash, please don't do that. Courts cannot function without jurors. It is an extremely, underline, italicize, all of that, extremely important part of the judicial system. As a juror, you are sitting, 12 or 6 people, what have you, different court. You are sitting in the place of the judge. The judge always decides what the law is on a certain situation. But as the juror, you and the other members of the jury are deciding what are the facts involved in this case? In every case, there's two sides, and just like it implies, there's going to be two versions of what is a fact. But as a juror, it is your duty, your responsibility. It's your job.
But Sheriff Painter has pointed out, as a citizen, it's one of the most important things you can do, that and voting. And serving on a jury is a very important thing to do.
Maybe military service would fall along those same lines, or being a law enforcement officer. I was sitting here trying to think of something that is as important as voting or serving on a jury. And I would think maybe being in law enforcement or serving in the military would be something that falls in that hierarchy of importance.
All right, Isaiah, let's say hi to our caller. You're on the air on KWEL AM and FM with Isaiah Jackson, candidate for county judge. Good morning. District judge. Howdy.
Good morning. Here's what I'll say to you and other people in that situation. Show up, and as soon as you get the opportunity, let the court know that that's your situation. It is not the court's intention, and the court will not want to put a person in a position where they're going through some extreme burden. The courts are so they'll understand you. People have plane tickets they bought in advance, they can't get a refund for it. We're not trying to make this an undue burden on anybody, but I would not. That's what I would say. Show up, let them know that this is not something that you really can do. It's not very feasible. You have responsibility to your family, and the attorneys. We're allowed to excuse certain number of people on each side. As an attorney, I would not want a juror on my panel, or I'm sitting in the jury that is thinking about how this is affecting his ability to feed his kids. I don't want him. I wouldn't want that person on there because they're not really focused on the trial. This guy's thinking about how's his bill going to get paid. He wouldn't be a good juror in my opinion. So I would do my best to get you sent home that same morning. Yeah. Those jurors, it sounds like some of them made the supreme sacrifice, but I would still thank them for their service.
Yeah, but that's a tough one if you're on a case that's going to last a long time and got to be working. That can be tough.
And honestly, there's never a way for us to know that up front. By the time you reach a jury, we've done everything we can to resolve this case without a trial. But there's never any way to gauge with a high degree of certainty how long any case is going to take. Typically, most cases last a day. It's rare from my experience, that cases last more than a week. I've not been involved in a case that lasts more than 2, and that's going from murder cases all the way down. Typical case would be there 1, maybe 2 days at the most.
Okay, Isaiah, we'll say hi to another caller. You're on the air with Isaiah Jackson here on KWEL AM and FM. Good morning.
Oh, thank you very much.
But I can tell you this, ma'am, he's a good man.
Thank you.
Thank you. 928. Isaiah Jackson, candidate for district judge. And again, before we have to go, Isaiah, we got more people who want to talk to you, but what's the main reason you're running?
Wow. I want to serve my community. I do that, and I can't say this is the only reason why I'm running, because you can serve your community in a million different ways. But as an attorney, there's not much more an attorney can do. You can be president as an attorney. Abraham Lincoln. There's a long list of attorneys who become president. But me, myself, as a district judge, you're in a position to really do good for your community. And that goes from the bottom up. In this court in particular, there's going to be a lot of drug cases here. And this is one thing that I hope people can understand, but I am in favor of reinvesting judicial resources towards rehabilitation of drug addicts. I don't think it really helps anybody for us to spend, I don't have an exact number, but it costs more to put a person in prison than it does to help them get treatment. And by the time a person has reached the criminal justice system as a result of their addiction, it's not like this the first time they've got high. Probably been doing it for years. And whether it's through just lack of health insurance or whatever, they have not been afforded an opportunity at all to get treatment. Here in Midland, we do have programs. I don't know, I can't say policy, but we are able to we're able to force a person to seek treatment. We have to successfully complete these programs, whether it's through a condition of probation or as an alternative to incarceration. I really like that, and that's just one example of how a sitting district judge can do something good to help his community. In that situation, even where a family can't afford or for whatever reason is unable to put a person into a rehabilitation center, as a judge, I can send them there and make sure that they complete it on top of that.
Okay, we'll say hi to one more call. We're a little bit late, but that's okay. And you're on the air next on KWEL AM and FM. Good morning. Nobody there. Okay. Isaiah, then we will be seeing you in the campaigns, I'm sure, in the campaign trail, as they say, along the way. Good luck. We appreciate
Thank you,
having you in.
Yeah. Anybody out there, feel free to stop me, ask me anything. I'm new to this, but my life's an open book. I'm more than happy to answer any question you present to me.
All right, appreciate that, Isaiah. Thanks, and good luck.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.